Okay, I really did not actually expect to talk about this again, but we're actually doing it. Now, just to be clear, up until yesterday, I thought that the whole Patrik Laine being traded angle was just a little bit of a smokescreen in a way. I didn't really believe that the Winnipeg Jets would actually consider trading this guy. A lot of that had to do with my own personal opinions of the Jets and Laine as a player in general. If you want a good video explaining why I didn't really think the Laine stuff was real, buddy of mine, Peg City Hockey, made himself a very good video talking about how Patrik Laine and the idea of trading him is just absolutely whack. And I, for the most part, very did much stand with everything that he said in that video. But we're talking today about the most recent episode of TSN's Insider Trading segment that occurs on TV. And we have ourselves a much bigger discussion to be had here, as mentioned by guys like Dreger and the TSN crew in general. So today we're talking about what was said on that episode regarding Patrik Laine. So, let's go over onto NHL Watcher's Twitter account, because what he has here are a few tweets that go over the whole situation. I'll put these up on the screen for you here. This is what Darren Dreger said on TSN when he was asked about the Winnipeg Jets and the potential of them actually being serious on moving Patrik Laine. Absolutely, the Jets are serious. I mean, Patrik Laine's name on the trade bait board isn't just eye candy or speculative. He also adds that there hasn't been much action around Laine. He wonders if teams just figure, cause he's a star player, he isn't really available, or teams are worried about the salary cap implications of him having to sign an extension. Now, first off, yes, Laine is indeed a player who will be an RFA later on. He needs a contract extension for 2021-2022, but the idea here is that he actually is apparently available on the block, despite his status as a young, up-and-coming star in the NHL, leading to the belief that he probably wouldn't be otherwise. We have ourselves some other tweets over here, so let's go over them as well. Pierre-Luc mentioned on the program how the Columbus Blue Jackets have interest in Patrik Laine. They have a lot of cap room. They haven't replaced Artemi Panarin, and of course, Blue Jackets GM Jarmo Kekalainen would have some insight on Patrik Laine. Now that, first off, is our big main topping point to start off the video, aside from the actual idea of Laine actually being on the block. The Blue Jackets, oh my, if Jarmo Kekalainen is the guy who comes out here and makes a trade for a Finnish guy that was in his draft year when Kekalainen was taking over the reins of CBJ and starting out the prospect scouting process for that team, it would honestly make a lot of sense. Now remember, we actually have a few connections between Jarmo Kekalainen and the Finns of the 2016 draft in general. Remember when the Blue Jackets had the 3rd overall pick in 2016, and they passed on Jesse Puljujärvi to take Pierre-Luc Dubois? In hindsight, it was the right decision, but back when that was made, everybody was kind of questioning, okay, how could Kekalainen not take the 3rd overall projected Finnish guy that was supposed to be here? That led to Puljujärvi going to Edmonton, and everybody thought that Edmonton was getting a steal because they dropped to 4, yet they were still getting Puljujärvi, who in his draft year was seen to being very, very good. But now, as I said, in hindsight, Pierre-Luc Dubois is just kind of in another world than Puljujärvi is. But if Jarmo Kekalainen had the opportunity of getting Patrik Laine, who knows if he actually might have been able to go for that route instead. As Pierre-Luc mentioned, hey, they have not replaced that goal-scoring front that we saw coming out of Artemi Panarin a few years ago. And if the Blue Jackets want to get themselves a number 1 scorer to take over the point totals and the goal totals for this team into the next generation's worth of NHL play, Patrik Laine at 22, 23 years old can be that. It's just, well, who exactly are they going to trade for Laine? I'm no expert over here on Columbus Blue Jackets prospects, but what exactly are the main assets that the Blue Jackets have that would actually allow a Laine trade to get done? Some of their top prospects aren't really that good to be considered, I think. Liam Foudy, he's a great player, but you're going to have to add more if you want Laine in return. That's it, plain and simple. Your best value players on your team, Pierre-Luc Dubois, yeah, you're not getting rid of him. You also got Werenski and Jones, yeah, you're probably not getting rid of those guys. And then on the goaltending front, well, Winnipeg has Hellebuck. They don't really need a goaltender. So on the Columbus front, it'd be very interesting to see if any names start leaking out towards the media as to who is in this conversation. Because off the top of my own head, unless you're talking about Zach Werenski or whatever, you're not really getting yourself a trade that looks like it's going to go through. However, though, if it is Werenski, that'd make for a very interesting story. 2 straight times in a row, it's the young guy, 1 for 1. First off, you have Johansson for Jones. Second off, you have Werenski for Laine. 2 Columbus trades, that would be very interesting, but obviously, I don't think that's going to happen. Next up, though, we have ourselves another tweet on Pierre LeBrun as well. He says the Carolina Hurricanes had a conversation with the Winnipeg Jets about Laine, but it didn't get very far. LeBron says the Canes don't feel there is a fit at this point. So for Carolina, it appears that they have entered the conversation, but then they ended up leaving. I'm actually so interested in hearing all this stuff because we've seen Carolina be one of the more active teams in terms of getting their name out there on the rumor side of things. First off, they had the offer sheet a year ago with Sebastian Aho. That was a pretty big deal. Then you also had the actual trade with the Canadiens too, and now you have all these conversations with Reimer and other people have been labeling Nino Niederreiter as a potential target or whatever, and now they're inserting themselves in the Laine talks and then taking themselves out of it. To me, that would have been really, really awesome. Imagine Sebastian Aho and Patrik Laine on a line, and Toivo Teravainen too. Get the fantastic Finns in there, all doing their thing, and you have yourselves what looks to be a very, very good palette of success. We also had the Kasperi Kapanen thing that people were mentioning as well, that the Hurricanes might have been able to show interest in Kapanen because, hey, his dad played for them a few decades ago. Something about Carolina and the Fantastic Finns, man, certainly is very interesting to see. But we have one more tweet on NHL Watcher's Twitter that goes over this whole segment on TSN. Pierre LeBrun on TSN reports, the Canadiens have a need for scoring on their top 6, but the Habs don't intend to get in on the Patrik Laine sweepstakes. So there you have it. We've spoken about Laine and the Winnipeg Jets, how he is apparently on the block, and we highlighted 3 teams. The Blue Jackets want him. We'll see how that turns out. Carolina also wanted him, but eventually after some conversing, they ended up backing out. And now for the Canadiens, it appears that they, although in need of a goal-scoring forward to help them out, just straight up don't want to participate in the talks. Now I get kind of why Marc Bergevin would not want to entertain the idea, because Laine, come on, the guy can probably hit 40 goals every season for the rest of his career, if not 30 goals, and that's putting it lightly. So this kind of guy is going to get a lot in return for Winnipeg, and what the Winnipeg Jets need at the moment, they need a second-line center, they need defense. Montreal doesn't want to give up any of their D-men. Norlinder, Romanov, the young guys, they don't want to touch that. Also, when it comes to their actual on-ice product, we know that Mete, Kulak, one of these guys, probably going to go, but come on, you're not giving that up for Laine. And as for the center front, hey, you could talk about Domi, you can talk about Danault all you want, but to me, Domi and a Mete is not enough for Laine. Straight up, you're going to have to add more. And if the Canadiens are in a position where they have an extra first-round pick that they want to give in, sure. But for me personally, I just don't really think that giving away a boatload of assets for a number 1 goal scorer in the future is really something that Bergevin would entertain. Normally, he's the one giving up stuff and getting a big package back. We saw that Pacioretty trade, Suzuki, Tatar, etc. Then you had the trades for Kovalchuk, Cousins, Thompson all getting traded for picks. Normally, aside from the Edmondson deal, it is Montreal getting the meat and potatoes back. It's not really Bergevin's style to go out there and acquire a big number 1 guy. Unless, of course, he's given up a star in return, which I don't really think Domi is going to be enough to do that. So, talk to me in the comments what you think about this whole idea. Laine legitimately being on the block. The Jets being serious about trading this guy. The Blue Jackets getting involved. The Hurricanes backing out. And the Canadiens not even entertaining it. Tell me in the comments what you think about this whole idea. Where should Laine go? What do you think he is worth? What would you get in return if you're Winnipeg? And tell me what you think about each of the other teams in this discussion as well, because I know there certainly can be a lot of talking to be had, especially for Habs fans, because we've been talking about Laine, maybe the Habs, for a few weeks now. As I said, I thought it was kind of stale, and I thought it was kind of just provocative in a sense. But now, since the guys talked about it on TSN TV, it has pushed the narrative even further as to what could, would, or should happen. So tell me in the comments what you think about this whole idea. Hope you enjoyed this video. and bye.